Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a bit of a weird video. I thought I'd do a video just kind of explaining a little bit more how the rating games series works, because I realised in the first video I didn't explain all of the rules and additions, and I also just kind of skimmed past it really quickly without actually going in detail a little bit more what the series is, who is involved, and how we balance it out to make it a little bit more fair. And so I thought I'd just explain that in a little bit more detail. I just want to say that, of course, this video is just to give you all information, just so then you are aware for when you watch the future videos. If anything goes on, you'll kind of know what's going on. So that's the reason why. So let's get started. So this part is going to be split into different categories. We're going to go through all different rules, etc. So if you are interested in certain parts, I might do timestamps. I've never done a timestamp, so if there's not one there, you can understand why. So the first thing is I want to talk about who actually is involved in this series, who joins in the videos, and who's going to actually be rating these mini games, because I think that's quite important. You might have seen a bit of a sneak glimpse from the first video. So the first one, no surprise, is me. I've really enjoyed rating the game so far. It is really good fun to do it, and I'm excited to see what other games will come in the future. In terms of my rating style, I like to think I'm quite fair. Like, if I think something's not right, I'm not going to give it a high score, and if I don't think it deserves it, I won't give it a high score. I'm just very fair with my ratings. We've also got Bloodstorm, who has got a bit of an advantage over everyone else, because Bloodstorm's actually been in some of Copycat's videos and played some of Copycat's games. So in the future, when we get to those games, or unless we've already played them and he has played them and he just never said anything, we are going to be a little bit of a disadvantage compared to him, just because he's played them. But I'm sure he'll look forward to doing it anyway. We've also got Happy joining us as well. Happy tends to sometimes, Happy's ratings, from what I've noticed, sometimes they're really generous, and other times it's just brutal. If the looks could be a little bit wonky, he'll give it a 0. So it's going to be interesting to see how he rates some of the future things. We've also got Dave. Shout out to Dave. We love Dave. Dave is probably the nicest person of the group, in terms of rating. We all kind of give 0s and 1s if we really don't like anything, and Dave will still give it a 5. So, I think Dave's probably, if you want to guarantee, if you want someone who you can guarantee on will give you a lot of score, it probably will be Dave. And then lastly, we've got EJ. EJ's rating, it's a little bit like Happy. Sometimes the ratings can be quite high, and then other times they can be really low. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. All of us will be playing all of the games pretty much every week. However, of course, there are going to be times when one of us, or maybe multiple of us, can't come on to play the game. So in that situation, we have got a series of guest judges lined up who are going to be joining us. The guest judges will they can join us for a normal video if all 5 of us are there, but they're not allowed to actually do the ratings unless they are standing in for someone. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that works out. I'm not going to tell you who the guest judges are, because I want to save it as a bit of a surprise. But yeah, that's pretty much everyone in terms of who is actually going to be judging these games. It's quite a fair group, I'd say. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we rate all of the games, because we're going to be playing all of them, remember. And I will get to the rules of exactly what games we are going to be playing a little bit later on in the video. So once again, if you want to see that, timestamp, if there is one. So on to part number 2. If you have used the timestamp to, get to this part and you've skipped part 1, welcome, hello. We're going to be talking about the categories now that we're going to be rating on. So the first category that we rate on is the looks. So by looks, what we mean is how a game, looks. So this could be the outside, the inside, and as well as the entrance, and basically anything that adds to the game to how it looks. That's what we're going to be counting on. We're not going to count like scenery or anything, literally just the game itself and anything man-made on the game is what we're going to be counting on. So it's going to be interesting because a lot of the time I'm going to imagine that the game might score really high for fun, but the looks might let it down, or the looks might be really good, but the gameplay might be... I mean, of course, it'd be nice if both would, but that's probably going to happen at some point. So the looks is really important in terms of the ratings. So looks is the first category. Now on to category number 2, which is originality. So originality will be how original is the game compared to other things that we have seen. So is it a unique idea? Is it different to kind of other things? Or is it too similar to kind of things that we've seen in the past? So for example, if it was a Spleef minigame, how different is that minigame to every other Spleef game? And how different is it to make it unique? So that's what we mean by originality. Category number 3 is how much fun was the game? Was it really good fun? Did we enjoy it? Did we not? The how much fun rating basically is down to our own personal opinion on did we enjoy the game or not. So for this category, do expect like everyone's ratings to be very different, because of course it all depends on your own preference and how you enjoyed it yourself. Also, of course, if people are not very good at the game, that could affect the rating as well, which isn't very fair, but that's how some people rate. So yeah, that's what we mean by how much fun. Category number 4 is probably the most unique category, which is the replay value. So what we mean by replay value is how much would we want to replay the game? How much would we want to actually go back and play it again? So a high rating would mean, yes, I would love to go and play it again. And a low rating would mean, no, I don't want to play that ever again. So that's what we mean by replay value. And finally, the last category is the name of the game. A pretty important category. We're going to be rating the name of every single minigame out of 10, and I am looking forward to it. So far, the ratings for the names have been very up and down. Once again, it's down to your individual preference. I do expect these to be different for everyone. I've been quite strict with the names so far, but hopefully that'll improve, because some of them do look really good from what I've read. But yeah, that's what we mean by the name. So that is pretty much it in terms of the ratings. However, the scoreboard does not end there. There is one other addition to the scoreboard, and I love this addition, which is going to hopefully spruce things up a little bit to make the series a little bit more interesting and exciting. So you might have seen this very specially placed button right in front of the scoreboard in the Bed Rush tournament, but I never actually explained what it was. So this button is a very special button. So every judge, if you've ever seen like a talent show, like where they have like a special button that they can press only once each, it's a little bit like that. So each judge can only press this button once. Once they've pressed it, they cannot go back on that choice. That is the decision finalized. When that button has been pressed, it will set off a whole load of fireworks and a bunch of stuff, but it will also add 100 extra points to the total of the game. And the reason why we've added this button is because we don't want the best games to end up getting lower ratings than they should. So having this button basically means that the best games should end up in the tops, is the plan. So far, no one has pressed this button, So it's going to be a very exciting moment when the first button does get pressed. And I am really looking forward to it when that does happen. But that is the golden button. I wanted to explain exactly what it was, just in case any of you were curious. I don't know when I've always said I'm only going to press the button when I feel like the game is perfect with nothing that could be added or changed. And so far, I've been tempted a few times, but I still haven't. So it's going to be exciting when that first button gets pressed by whoever it is that presses it. Guest judges are allowed to press the button, so even though they're not allowed to do the ratings unless they're, filling in for someone who can come in, they are allowed to press the button, so we could have an extra one. But the thing is there's only one button press for all of the guests. So if one of them presses it, they've used it up for every other guest as well. So the guests are not going to be able to go as trigger happy with the button presses as probably what you'd think, which I think is going to make it a little bit more fair. Okay, so also I just want to quickly explain the rebuilding aspect, because I did briefly explain what this was, but I never actually went into it in detail. So basically, after we've played every minigame, one of us is going to take turns every week to rebuild the minigame in our own style. So for example, the first game we played was Bed Rush. So one of us will now rebuild Bed Rush in our own style using the feedback that we gave at the end of Bed Rush, and then we will play that minigame at the end of the next video. So because sadly the snow blocked, whatever it was called, game didn't save, I can't show you that clip, but we will go and replay the Bed Rush remake at some point in the future so you can see it properly. But we're going to take in turns. So Happy rebuilt Bed Rush. EJ's rebuilding Snowblocked. And we're not sure who's rebuilding Prisoner Patrollers yet. We're going to wait and see. But that's all I have to say about that part. Okay, so we are now on to part number 4. And this is going to be the part talking about the games that we are going to be playing and which ones we aren't. Because basically there's a very specific rule that I've made in terms of which ones we are going to play and which ones we aren't. So, very simply, we are only going to be playing games that are copycat original ideas. Any games which are direct copies off of Stampies, we're not going to do. There is a few exceptions. For example, if the game has been changed in terms of its looks completely, we will play them, even if it does play the same as Stampies. It just means that it probably won't get a very high originality rating, which is fine. So that's just kind of the way. So any games that are copycats, original ideas, we will play. Any that are just games that we've played before or are literally just exact copies of other people's games, we're not going to do. Not saying that there are any, but I'm just saying if there are any, we won't be doing them. And I think that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else. So I think that's everything I've got to talk about. I look forward to be posting the next video of the series once we have recorded it. But yeah, I hope that you've all enjoyed this little video, just going through some things for the series just in case you were a bit confused. And I will see you all at some point.